Alright guys, very cool video today. This is our first video after reaching 1,000 subscribers. And I've been on YouTube for a little over a year. Obviously, I'm a noob. Obviously, I'm learning as I go. But I appreciate each and every subscriber to the channel. And especially those of you that come back for each and every video. It means a lot to me. Hopefully, what I'm putting out is helpful. Hopefully, you can learn some things. And I really appreciate all of you. Thanks again to Colin, our editor, who really puts everything together. I barely have the time to record the videos, so I definitely don't have the time to do the editing. And he's great with that. Shout out to Colin. Thanks again for all your hard work. And I appreciate all of you involved in the channel, and thank you for the feedback and all the comments.
A few moments later.
Welcome back to the channel. Drew here, and we are going to talk about renting sports cars on Turo. And I'm going to give you specifically 8 models that are great for Turo, especially if you don't want them wrapped around a tree or you're not interested in trying to utilize lots of damage claims. Let's talk about it. Let's jump in. Alright guys, so there's many of you that have a good Turo fleet and you'd like to diversify into the sports cars, maybe add a couple sports cars to your fleet, but you're afraid of what most people are afraid of when they're renting sports cars, that the wrong person is going to get a hold of your keys and they're going to dog it out. They're going to be doing the burnouts and for YouTube and or WorldStar, and that's why you don't have any sports cars on the platform. So I'm going to give you a list of cars that not only are they good Turo cars to rent, but they're also ones that really limit your risk on damaging the car, thrashing the cars, and burning up your tires. Let's talk about it. Let's jump in. The first one is one of my favorites. It is a Lexus RC300, RC350. They have 2 different versions of the model. Obviously, the 350's got a little bit bigger engine, a little bit faster, a little bit sportier. But the Lexus is first of all, it's a great looking car. I remember the first time I saw one of these on the road. It was a bright blue metallic, and I was not familiar with the model, and I saw it. I had to do a double take. And the car looks way more expensive than it actually is. It's got very clean lines, and it can be flashy, it can be luxurious, you can make it kind of however you want to make it. But it's a great model. Of course, you got Lexus reliability, and you're going to see a theme throughout a lot of these is it uses all-wheel drive and a V6 powertrain. So there's benefits to both of those. One, the V6, it gives you a more organic sports car feel. So people who rent the car that are going to want to have a sports car, the V6 is much better than any type of a smaller turbocharged engine in most cases. It's got a better feel, it's got a better sound, it's got a little bit of exhaust that you can hear, and so it makes the car feel more sporty. Secondly, the all-wheel drive is going to keep you from people doing burnouts with your vehicle, and it's very difficult to do burnouts if the car's got all-wheel drive. So you can get the Lexus RC300, RC350 in all-wheel drive. I think they're all V6s, but most of them are all-wheel drive, and that's great. It also is a very versatile vehicle. So if you want to lean more to the luxurious side, you could get a classic white or silver, and you get some red leather seats in a Lexus, and it looks great. The interiors are great. People really love them, and they tend to rent really well on the platform. Or you can go the opposite route. You can go more sporty. They have some really great colors, a couple of really good blues. They have reds. They also have a real bright, like, supercar orange that you would see on really more high-end supercars, and it really makes the car very, very flashy. But all the way around, it's a great vehicle. And the best part is you're finally able to get these vehicles in the $25,000 to $30,000 range. They started making them in 2015. So if you're looking from a 15 to an 18 range, if you get one with a little bit higher miles, you can really get a great price on the vehicle. I've seen them even under $25,000, and you got the Lexus reliability overall. So a great vehicle to consider, especially if you don't have a lot of sports cars in your fleet and you want to try something new and different. Pros and cons. I'm going to give you pros and cons on each of these suggestions that I offer to you. The pros, obviously, aesthetically, price, reliability, lots of pros with this car. Minimal cleaning because you only got 2 seats really. As far as that goes, the cons are that it doesn't look like when I use the Turo search category, it doesn't look like that. Turo categorizes the vehicle into the whatever the category is. It's like a fun and sporty basically category. So that may a little bit limit some of the rentals for people who are specifically looking for a sports car. Other than that, I can't think of any other cons on this car. It's a great value, it's a great car, and most importantly, it's not crazy fast where people can get in a lot of trouble with it. All right, number 2, let's talk about it. Next is a Mini Cooper Type S. So Mini Coopers are great on the Turo platform. They rent really well. Any car where people is really not that practical for someone to own long term, but they want to test it out, they want to enjoy it, or want to rent something different, something unique. Mini Coopers, they rent very, very well, all different markets. But if you get the Type S version, you can also get into some of the people looking for sports cars. So, you know, it's a great vehicle. The Mini Coopers, you can get them definitely under 30,000, especially they've been making them for a long time, so you can find ones. Once again, if you're buying a pre-owned one, which you might be in this category, watch my my last video on purchasing pre-owned cars and use lower price cash cars. But you can find Mini Coopers all the way down to $10,000 or less, and all the way up to $30,000 or a little bit more if you're going to buy a fairly new one. Now, with the Mini Coopers, the pros and cons, right? The pros, they rent really well. People like them. They're unique. They're special. There's not really a lot of vehicles out there like a Mini Cooper, and so they're unique. Cons, you need to have someone to do good maintenance on it. You need to have a good mechanic that can do the proper maintenance on it for not too inexpensive. You don't want to be going to the dealership for maintenance on a Mini Cooper. You need to find a good local dealer person that can do maintenance, or if you can do it yourself, that's a benefit. Mechanically, they can have some issues, so you're going to have you need a plan for that and have an option for that as far as that goes. But they're great cars, they're fun cars, and there's a lot of them out there because they've been making them for a long time. Next, Camaro convertible. Okay, so I'm going to try to stay away from the typical sports cars on Turo. But if you're going to buy a Camaro, or you can put in Mustang vehicle, and you don't want the thing to get thrashed, and you don't want it wrapped around a tree, you don't want to replace the tires every 5 to 10,000 miles, you want a Camaro, you want the V6, and you want it in a convertible. The convertible is going to bring in a different crowd of people. If you don't want every hoonigan in your area renting the vehicle, you get the convertible. It brings a different type of client in. Plus, it's got the V6 for a little bit of a throaty growl. Both the Mustang and the Camaro have great V6 engines that really feel kind of a little bit aggressive, a little bit throaty, and they're fun. As far as the pros and cons, these rent very well, but because of that, a lot of rental fleets have these. So Hertz and you know, there's a lot of rental fleets that have these, and there's a lot of Turo hosts that have these vehicles. So you want to check your market and make sure that there's not an oversaturation, not just in the Turo platform, but also what other rental companies are near you, and do they have these vehicles or too many of these vehicles. So if that's the case, then I would steer away from that. Next, number 4, the Dodge Charger and the Dodge Challenger. I'm going to link these two together, and I want to be very specific which model we want of these if you don't want this thing thrashed. Stay away from the you know, the higher end models. Stay away from the VRT, the Scat Packs, and the SRTs, and the Hellcats. Those are not the ones you want on Turo if you want it to stay away from damage claims and limit the amount of damage that can be done to these vehicles. What you want is, they actually, if you don't know this, they actually make a Challenger and a Charger in all-wheel drive with the V6. And that would be the vehicle I'd be targeting. With the all-wheel drive, really limits people from doing burnouts. It really helps as far as that goes. And the V6 is the one that you want. It's I don't even know if they make a lower end, something lower than the V6, but there are V6 models that look a little bit aggressive, that look a little bit cool, and I would target something like that. And if I could find one with the all-wheel drive, that's even better, because it really limits how people are going to thrash that vehicle. Number 5 is a Mazda Miata or now they call it the Mazda MX-5, okay? So Mazda Miata, Mazda MX-5. Now, this is a true sports car. See, it doesn't have over 200 horsepower. It's like, I don't even know, like 170 maybe, 180, the newer ones. But limited horsepower, you don't have to worry about people doing burnouts typically, but they're fun sports cars, they're unique. Once again, it's a car that people typically, a lot of people wouldn't be able to own because it's not practical, but they would love to have it for a weekend to take it out and so forth. So Mazda Miatas rent very well on the platform, and you typically don't have any issues of people, you know, doing crazy high speeds and that kind of stuff in a Miata. They're just fun cars, and they're great, true sports cars. So consider one of those. Next on the list, of course, the C8. You gotta, if I'm gonna do a sports car list, I'm definitely gonna have a C8 on it. Now let's talk about the C8, okay? So C8 has been a great car on Turo. I've had 2 of them. I've had well over 100 rentals with them, and I've had very minimal issues with the C8, and there's mainly for 2 reasons. One, as far as traction, it is a rear-wheel drive. But as far as traction, the weight of the engine sits over the rear wheels, and it is very difficult to just do burnouts with. Pros and cons to the C8. The reason it's, you know, you really don't have a lot of issues is because, one, you typically price it higher than most people who are going to give you problems, who are going to thrash out a car. They're looking for one-day rentals, or they're just going to thrash out a car, and you can keep the price high enough to keep the riffraff, so to speak, away from renting the car. The cons of the C8, well, I mean, it's just getting a hold of one, really. The pricing of it, the getting a hold of one, and then you have to have a place to store it, typically inside, you know, out of the elements. And so those are the only issues as far as the C8. I think they're going to be great cars on Turo. The last thing would be oversaturation in your market. So you want to make sure there's not multiple of them close to you. It's okay to have a few in the area. It's okay to have a few, you know, within a reasonable distance. But I would try to obviously pick a different color, and the C8 will be good for a while. Next and lastly is the Porsche Cayman. The Porsche Cayman is an outstanding car for Turo. All the Porsches rent really, really well. You know, some areas there's a little bit oversaturation, but Porsches are you know, rare enough where as a brand as a whole, where you typically don't have too much oversaturation, even if there's a lot of different models on there. But the Cayman is a true sports car. The model you want the V6, or you want the 6-cylinder. It's a flat 6, I believe. You don't want the turbo, in my opinion. The flat 6s of the Caymans, I think, are going to, they have great residual value. I think they're going to continue to hold their value. And they rent really well on Turo. They're pretty bulletproof vehicles. The only con that I can think of on that vehicle is that you know, it's you want to have a good mechanic that can make sure it's properly maintained and that knows a little bit about the brand and how to maintain a Porsche. If you maintain that vehicle very well, it should be a vehicle that can last a long, long time, even if people are using it. Now, the reason, you know, as far as a Cayman compared to like a similar priced vehicle, maybe like a Toyota Supra, I think the Cayman will attract more of the upper class renters and typically true car people and not younger kids that are going to be thrashing it. And so it really is a good vehicle for Turo. And it may be hard to get one under $30,000 right now, but coming over into the winter time, I think there'll be opportunities where you may be able to find some really good quality, clean 1-2 owner Caymans, you know, for well under $30,000 coming up in the next 6 to 8 months. So this is a video you want to hold on to, save it, watch it again in a few months from now, watch it again in the springtime, because you know, as you are wanting to add to your fleet, one of these will definitely fit your market, and hopefully this is helpful. Until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'm out.
A few moments later.
And now the real final one, number 8, the Kia Stinger. And Kia brand has come up quite a bit in the last few years especially. And the Stinger was their first attempt at a real sports car, a 4-door sports car at that. And similar to the Nissan Maxima of old. And the Stinger is a great sports car. There's not a lot of, you know, sports cars that are 4 doors anymore. And we mentioned one earlier, the Charger. has that really old school muscular feel, but the Kia Stinger is a more modern and it's quick. It's got two different engine options. You have a 4-cylinder that puts out 300 horsepower, and then you have the real high-end sports car. It's a 3.6 liter twin turbo V6, and this thing moves. And so the Stinger, no matter what your budget is as far as that goes, there's benefits to the Kia Stinger. Benefits for a newer model is you got a really long warranty, a 5-year, 60,000 mile warranty, 100,000 mile powertrain. If you bought the car new, obviously right now we're trying to buy cars under $30,000 because of the interest rates have gone up. And so the Kia, definitely you can get lots of Stingers in that price range. Anywhere from $20,000 to $25,000, well under $30,000. They've been out for a while. There's a newer model in the last couple of years. And if you think a 4-door sports car would work well in your market, consider the Kia Stinger. It's got the same thing as some of the other cars we've had. Lots of bright colors, lots of different styles, lots of different variations of the vehicle. Especially the all-wheel drive versions, what I would recommend. And there is a limited production. They only made 500 of them, and it's a bright orange. It's a model which actually is rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and it has some other modes on that. So look into those, and hope this has been helpful. Until next time, guys, I'm out, and thanks for tuning in.